Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where you send us sources, and, well, we dive in to pull out the key knowledge for you.
That's right. Quick, thorough understanding. We aim for those aha moments without, the information overload.
Exactly. And today, we're digging into a YouTube video. It's called Vaidic Edo Shuld Mansik Roop's Strong Kaise Bane from the Vedic Physics channel.
It explores the mind from a Vedic philosophy perspective, looking at it almost scientifically.
Yeah, so our mission today is to really get a handle on that Vedic view. What is the mind according to them? How does it tie into mental health?
And crucially, what are the actionable insights you can maybe take away from this?
Right. And the video itself references a conference, mentions Professor G.D. Sharma, Dr. Devi Mahotsav, Dr. Ajit Tewari. So these aren't just casual thoughts. There's some real scholarly backing here.
Definitely. So the video jumps right in. What is the mind, or man?
And introduces this idea of samyak man, or samasti man, the collective mind. That's a big concept right off the bat.
It really is. And they point to ancient scriptures like the Taittiriya Samhita, Maitrayani Samhita, and others. They actually identify this collective mind with Prajapati.
Prajapati. What does that mean in this context? I usually associate it with like a creator figure.
It does mean creator or progenitor, but here it's more specific. It's the fundamental substance from which all beings, well, they originate from it, they're impelled by it, and even protected by it.
So origin, driver, and protector. Wow. And sustainer and producer, too, the notes mentioned.
Exactly. It's the source and the ongoing support.
Okay, so how does this Prajapati, this collective mind, fit into the grand scheme of creation in Vedic thought?
Well, the video lays it out. You have Prakriti. Think of it as the primordial, unmanifested nature, the absolute basic stuff.
The raw material.
Kind of, yeah. Prakriti is the material cause. From that arises Mahat, the great intellect, then ego, Ahamkara, and then the mind, man.
And guiding all this.
That's Ishvara, the supreme being, the efficient cause. So Prakriti is the clay, maybe, and Ishvara is the potter shaping it.
Okay, that helps. Prakriti to Mahat, Mahat to Ahamkara, Ahamkara to man. A sequence.
Right. And the Sushruta Samhita, another key text, talks about this too. From unmanifest Prakriti to Mahat.
And it emphasizes Mahat is really subtle.
Extremely subtle. It uses the term alinga, meaning without distinct characteristics, almost like Prakriti itself. Very fundamental.
It feels like we're talking about states very close to the origin point.
We are. And the video gives this analogy, which I found quite helpful, for Mahat, Ahamkara, and man.
Ah, the seed analogy.
Yeah. Think of Mahat as the raw, undeveloped seed, full of potential but not defined yet.
Okay.
Then, as it develops, gets a bit more form. That's Ahamkara, like a semi-ripe seed. Individuality starts here.
Right. The sense of I begins to form.
Exactly. And finally, man is the fully ripe seed, ready to sprout. The fully formed mind. It shows their stages of the same thing.
That really clarifies it. Mahat as potential, Ahamkara as emerging individuality, man as the formed mind.
So let's dig into Mahat a bit more. Kapila's Samkhya philosophy comes in here. It does. Samkhya says Mahat is the first manifestation, the first vikara from unmanifest Prakriti, and it also calls Mahat man.
So Mahat and man are very closely linked, maybe even identical at this stage.
Essentially, yes. And it describes that original state of Prakriti. It's almost impossible to imagine. Tranquil, unmanifest, no action, no sound, no force.
Not even space. Or photons.
Not even those. Pure potential. The video mentions the Mahabharata lists 135 names for Prakriti, just hammering home how unmanifest it is.
Wow. Okay, so from that nothingness, Mahat arises. And has characteristics. The video mentions 11.
Yes, Brahma outlines 11 characteristics. The first is Mahan.
Mahan, meaning
Vast. Pervasive, hugely vast. The video suggests it's beyond any physical substance science currently knows.
bigger than space, even. I think I read that in the notes.
Yeah, it suggests the volume of Akasha, or ether, is actually smaller than Prakriti, Mahat, and man. The scale is just immense.
Mind-bending. Okay, what's the second characteristic?
Which means indwelling. It pervades all created things.
So everything that's organized, everything that has form, it has this man, this collective mind, within it.
According to this view, yes, it's like a fundamental intelligence embedded in creation.
Not just empty space, then. Third characteristic.
Mati. This is the first glimmer of sentience. Things like attraction start here. Qualities absent in inert Prakriti.
But super subtle, right? Like we can't detect it.
Right. The video emphasizes this sentience is beyond our current technology. A deeper level of awareness.
Shows the limits of our tools, I guess.
Yes.
Fourth is Vishnu. That name stands out.
It does. Here, it's not the deity in the usual sense, but rather the principle that initiates movement and processes.
Like fundamental forces.
Exactly. Conjunction, disjunction, particles, waves, rays. It's the start of dynamics. The video even links it potentially to Rishi Dayananda's idea of grana vidyut, causal electricity.
Causal electricity, like the subtlest origin of force, the basis of control.
That seems to be the implication, the force that makes interaction and control possible.
Interesting. Okay, number 5.
Sura. This means it sustains all substances. It gives things stability.
Like the sun holding the planets. Or a nucleus holding electrons.
Precisely those kinds of examples. A hierarchical, sustaining power.
Got it. And number 6, Sambhu.
Sambhu is the calming force. When things get too chaotic or turbulent in creation, Sambhu brings balance, like a cosmic regulator.
A self-correcting mechanism almost. 7th is Viryavan.
Viryavan means it's the seed form of everything. This ties right back to Prajapati, the progenitor idea. Mahat holds the blueprint for all of creation within it.
The source code, yeah. Okay, 8th.
Buddhi. This is the faculty of discernment, the ability to understand, to differentiate intellect.
Makes sense. 9th, Upalabdhi.
Upalabdhi is the capacity to perceive nearby things. This is crucial. It marks the beginning of distinct states. Before this, it was all undifferentiated Prakriti. Now there's awareness of separation.
The first spark of individual perception.
Okay.
10th, Dhriti.
Dhriti is the ultimate sustaining cause, the fundamental support that allows entities to persist, resilience.
The underlying stickiness of existence, maybe. And finally, 11th, Smriti.
Smriti is memory in beings, yes, but it's also more fundamental. It's the principle of movement, gati, and attraction, pretty shalan, even in what we think of as inert matter.
So even rocks have some kind of inherent tendency towards motion and connection.
That's the implication, a very deep view of inherent qualities in matter.
Okay, that's a lot to take in about Mahat.
Okay.
So the video then connects Mahat, Ahamkara, and man again, using Brahma's view from the Mahabharata.
Right. Brahma says Mahat comes first. From Mahat arises Ahamkara, the ego sense. That's described as the second stage, the second shrishti or creation.
But they're still fundamentally the same stuff.
Exactly, just different states like water, ice, steam. The video stresses that.
And Ahamkara itself has types. 2 according to Brahma, 3 in other texts.
Yes. Brahma mentions Bhutadi and Vaikarika. The Charaka and Sushruta Samhitas add Tayajasa. These types are linked to the 3 gunas.
Ah, the Gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Goodness, activity, inertia.
Those fundamental qualities, yes. They influence the nature of each type of Ahamkara.
And what's the main job of Ahamkara?
It's key in creating the progeny, all living forms. And it's where Paramatma, the divine consciousness, instills Chaitana, individual consciousness.
So it's a bridge for individual awareness.
Seems so. And the manas, inner mind, and the indriyas, senses, are even called devas, divine faculties, originating here.
Okay, moving to the origin of the universe itself. The 3 lokas.
Yes, the unmanifest realm, the earthly one, and the luminous realm, sun, stars, space. And interestingly, chandas, like meters or rhythms, are also called lokas, suggests a vibrational reality.
Vibrational. And it all comes from...
Ahakama sound vibration. The video describes this initial vibration of para-om within Prakriti. That's what stirs it, transforms it into Mahat, then Ahamkara.
And kickstarts everything, like flicking a switch.
Pretty much. And the Atharva Veda is cited here, 8.9.3.
What does that say?
It says Paramatma infuses Vak, speech, sound, specifically Om, into the 3 gunas within Prakriti.
So Om activates the gunas, which were inert before.
Exactly. Sattva and Rajas become active first. It's like the divine sound wakes up the fabric of reality.
Wow. And after that activation?
Then comes Pashanti Vak, a subtle thought sound in the mind. This allows further creation. The 3 Vyarutis, Bhur, Bhuva, Sva, the Narshis, beings, even Prana, the life force.
Originating from Sutratma, the cosmic thread. It's like levels unfold.
A cascade, yes. And from Ahamkara also come certain qualities. Abhimana, ego, Abhimantrita, desire.
Which can lead to trouble, pain, attachment, conflict.
That's the potential downside of individuation, yes.
Yeah.
Sense of I brings both connection and the possibility of friction.
Okay, back to Ahamkara types for a sec. So Shruta says Ahamkara is similar to Mahat in function.
Because they're the same core substance, yes. And those 3 types, Vaikarika, Taijasa, Bhutadi, are really important.
Remind me which is which again.
Vaikarika is sattvic, pure. It gives rise to the 11 indriyas, the senses, action organs, and the inner mind, manas.
Okay, the tools of perception and action.
Taijasa is rajasic, active. It's the energy, the force that powers both the sattvic and tamasic aspects.
The engine.
Right. And bhutadi is tamasic, inert, or dark. This transforms into the 5 tanmatras, the subtle elements.
Which then become the gross elements, earth, water, fire, etc., the physical universe.
Exactly. So these 3 types of Ahamkara, driven by the Gunas, literally build everything. The cosmos, our bodies, our inner worlds.
Everything is made of these 3 qualities in different mixes.
That's the idea. And it draws a line between the physical body, the stula sharira that science studies, and these subtler layers.
Which brings us right to mental health. How does this all connect?
Well, because our inner instruments, our manas and senses, share this origin in Ahamkara with our physical body and are energized by Taijasa. They're intimately connected. What happens mentally affects the physical and vice versa.
Makes sense, but it goes further, doesn't it, to the collective mind?
Yes. The video suggests our individual mental state isn't isolated. It can be influenced by and can influence that samasti man, the collective consciousness. We're nodes in a network.
That is a huge implication. Our thoughts aren't just in our heads.
Potentially not. Emotions like sorrow, joy, anger, love, because they arise from this fundamental shared substance, they might create ripples that affect the whole.
So if that's the framework, how do we achieve mental well-being, svasta mental health, as the video calls it?
It starts by recognizing that our mind and senses have this natural connection to sattva, rajas, and tamas because of their origin.
Okay.
But the concern raised is that modern life seems to be boosting tamas and rajas while sattva is declining. All the noise, the negativity.
Yeah, I feel that constant bombardment. So the video talks about Anna, food, but broadly.
Very broadly. Anna is anything we take in. Physical food, yes, but also sounds, sights, thoughts, words, knowledge, our whole intake.
And the argument is our modern diet is too rashasic and tamasic.
That's the claim. Processed food, sensational media, constant stimulation, it leads to restlessness, unclear thinking. It's like feeding our minds junk food.
So be mindful of all inputs.
Okay.
And the effects of tamas and rajas.
Tamas brings dullness, ignorance, inertia. Rajas brings restlessness, hyperactivity, anxiety.
But rajas isn't always bad.
No, if rajas is aligned with sattva, it fuels positive action, benefiting society. Think of driven, ethical leaders or creators. But rajas mixed with tamas. That leads to harmful, impulsive action, destructive energy.
That distinction is key. Action driven by goodness versus action driven by darkness.
Exactly. The video contrasts wise people using time for knowledge, sattva, versus foolish people engaging in conflict, tamas. Same activity level, different quality.
And the feelings they generate.
Sattvic actions lead to love, peace, truth. Tamasic actions breed anger, greed, violence. And these feelings, these vibrations, might affect the whole system.
Which brings us to that quote, Manushanam karnam bandha mokshayo, the mind causes bondage and liberation.
Yes, and the video extends it, suggesting the collective mind state influences cosmic creation and destruction. It critiques focusing only on external problems like climate change.
Arguing the root cause is internal.
Yes. The dominant tamasic and rajasic tendencies in humanity, fueled by things like greed, dishonesty, violence towards animals for food, that these inner states are the real drivers of external problems.
An inside-out view of global issues. That's radical.
It is. And there's that anecdote, the person eating sattvic food, doing practices, but still acting deceitfully.
Right. What's the point there?
It shows practices aren't enough. Ethical conduct, integrity, that's non-negotiable for true mental purification. You have to align your actions with that sattvic nature. It's holistic.
So the practical path is?
Pure Anna in all forms. Clean food avoiding meat, intoxicants, clean sensory input avoiding harmful content, and crucially, ethical living, honesty, compassion.
Understand the mind's true sattvic nature and live in accordance with it.
That's the core message. Understanding leads to proper use, which leads to well-being for the individual and, potentially, a more harmonious world. The video ends hoping for sattva to awaken everywhere.
Wow, that really was a deep dive. So basically, this Vedic perspective gives us a framework for understanding the mind as deeply connected to our bodies, yes, but also to the entire cosmos.
Absolutely. It really prompts you to think, doesn't it, about everything you let in, not just food, but thoughts, media, conversations. How is that internal intake shaping your mental state?
Definitely. And it leaves us with this powerful final thought to chew on. If our individual minds, our thoughts and feelings can actually ripple outwards and affect the collective, Well, what responsibility does that place on each of us to cultivate those positive sattvic qualities inside?
It's a profound question about interconnectedness and our role within it, something to really reflect on.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this exploration.